Hey everybody! So I've been shooting film for the past 5 years extensively, and I've come to understand there are so many intricacies when it comes to the camera you use, the film you choose, how it's scanned, and then finally how the film is inverted, and how all of those choices can have an effect on the end or the resulting image. This will focus primarily on that last part and inverting your color negative film in Capture One. This isn't a particularly popular option. I know Negative Lab Pro is, I assume, the most popular option after having a lab scan your film. I also have a subscription to Lightroom, so I can use Negative Lab Pro, but I'm trying to consolidate everything within Capture One, and I found that it's actually quite easy and quick to get good color and process entire rolls at the same time. And I will show you in this video how to go from a base image, a base negative, to an inverted image with good color quite quickly. So to start out, there is one setting we need to change to make sure we're getting the results we want, and that is under Edit, Preferences. We want to go to the Exposure tab, and then for the Levels tool and Channel, we want to make sure that it's red, green, and blue channels that are selected. We don't want RGB, and that'll come into play in a little bit. So to start out, I want to start with a camera scanning setup just because I assume that is more popular. And there are two caveats when it comes to camera scanning. One of those is an LCC, or in Lightroom it's called flat field correction, and that's eliminating any lens vignette or unevenness in the light source itself. To do that, you need an image of your light which isn't clipping any information and doesn't include the film or any film holder in there. You just want an image of the light. And if I look at this histogram, we can see we're not clipping anything. To show you why that's important is if I lower this down and increase the contrast, you can see that in the middle it's brighter than on the corners. I have a global value of 216 in the middle, and if I go to the bottom left corner, 167. And that vignette, or that unevenness in illumination, will show up in your resulting inversions. So if it's darker in the corner, your film inversion will be lighter in the corner, often orange as well. And you'll notice that in a lot of film scans that people post. To correct for that, it's quite easy. We take our base image of the light and right-click, Create LCC. We uncheck any options, and there we go. Now it is 228 in the corner. And if I go to the bottom, 228 in the middle, and if I go to the bottom corner, still 228. And you can use this LCC over multiple rolls so long as you're not moving the light source or the film carrier or moving between different formats. To apply it, let me reset this one. To apply it, you would select both the LCC and all the images that you want to apply it to. Right click and hit Apply LCC, and you'll see them all brighten up a little bit in the corners based off of that. Okay, so now we can get started on the actual film inversion. I'll select this one, and what will be important specifically for camera scanning is setting your base characteristics. For flatbeds or dedicated film scanners, you don't have to do this, but for camera scans, you want to go into base characteristics and change your curve from auto to linear response. You can see it just becomes quite a bit flatter. All right, so I'll go to adjust, and now we can get started on the film inversion. To start out, I will take my white balance eyedropper, pick some part of the film base to give us a generalized white balance. Then we'll go to our cropping tool, and we will crop to only the image area. And this will be important here shortly. These next two steps are interchangeable, but I will do the first, I'll do one before the other to show how important the second is. So we will go to our levels, RGB, And now we're going to invert the image. So we'll take our blacks and put in 255 and our whites, and we'll do 0. And now we get our base inversion, which is too bright. The colors may be way off. A lot of things that can go wrong with it. But we need to color balance the film. And the way you do that is by picking the clipping points of each color channel, red, green, blue. You can do that manually or automatically. Because we changed that settings in our preference, all we have to do is click this button and it does it for us. Not looking too bad. So from here, you can take this as your base inversion and apply those settings to all of your other images, or you can edit it a little bit from here. So I can go down to my RGB curve, bring down the exposure a little bit. If it looks a little bit too blue, I can go to the blue channel and drag that down ever so slightly, but I'll leave that untouched for now. And if I want to convert the rest of this roll, I can select the image we just inverted and make sure we are copying our base characteristics, our exposure, our levels and curve, our color, and yeah, so we'll copy those. Select all the other images in this roll. Ooh, misclick there. And we will go ahead and apply. I'm going to get a warning because I already applied the LCC profile. And there we go. Now we have a base inversion of other images on this roll. And for images that were taken under the same condition, so it was sunny, good lighting, you shouldn't have to do much editing other than that. But I inverted this first one, which was daylight balanced, middle of the day. And if I go to a sunset, you can see this is also equivalent to a daylight balanced image at this point. So the colors are quite vibrant. And from here, you can, of course, edit from there, add a bit of a curve. I'll take this one as an example as well. Or if you want to rebalance the color for this image, specifically for this image, you can crop to the image area and then reselect this one. Or let me do this. Yeah, I can do my auto levels on this image, which is color balancing for just this image. And here's another example. Oh, that's a blurry image. Look, that's actually quite nice color there. I bring it down just a hair and bring that up. A little more contrast. Looks good. So that is the basic workflow for a camera color negative inversion. And to give a few more examples, I'll go here. Ooh, we have some film holder in here, so we'll have an issue when I create the LCC. In Lightroom, this will just fail, but in Capture One, you just get artifacts in that we have this white band. We'll see if it can still work though. So I will take that LCC and let's find a good image to invert. I'm gonna go with this one. I will apply the LCC. Oof, didn't work out so well. So we'll take the LCC off, but we'll go through our normal steps. So I'll go to style, set our curve to linear response, white balance on the film base, crop to the exposed area, auto level, go to your RGB level, and then 255, 0. And then from here, you can edit as needed. I can pull this down because that was overexposed. And then copy and pick the rest of this roll and apply. we're getting some good examples here. So, let me redo this one. You can see how vibrant the colors are because this lighting is different. And here's a good example of needing an LCC. You can see how the blacks are quite a bit darker here in the center versus the edge. If I apply this LCC, it's not perfect, but we'll see what it does. Now they are even, other than this terrible area at the bottom. So if I crop this image area to only what we want, and then redo the auto levels, you can see how much it changed the color, which I didn't want. So what I can do, since I like the color, is just change my curve or change the RGB level to bring it back. Not too bad. Another example of needing that LCC profile or that flat field correction. And got some vibrant color with these. Well, let's move on to some examples of a flatbed scan. So I can go into my flatbed scan, and the image or the workflow is very similar. We don't need to do the flat field correction or setting the film curve because your dedicated film scanner or flatbed is outputting a TIFF file that already has a linear response. So first step with that is to go to white balance on our film base, crop to just the image area. You don't have to use the whole image area, you just want a good representation of lights, darks, or what your subject is. I will go here to levels for RGB, important you make that selection, 255, 0, and it looks a bit flat, colors are off, but if once I auto level, gives us a very good starting point. And then I can use my curve to bring the exposure down, maybe add a little bit of contrast into the highlights. Not too bad. And from here I can actually adjust the crop to bring the film rebate back in. Oh, and not bad. Copy. Select the other images in my roll and paste. And these can be edited from here. For instance, if the shadows are a little bit too dark, you can bring those back up, adjust the colors, or whatever else you are trying to do. But as a starting point, quick and easy and effective. Here's another example. I'll do it over here. So I can go to this one. Once again, white balance. If this will load. There we go. White balance, crop our image area. Invert our levels, so 255 for black, 0 for white, and then finally auto adjust each color channel, which gives us our base. This one could be a little bit too blue. But that is personal preference that you can play around with. I can copy and paste those across other images. And they look pretty good. Of course, if you want to rebalance for another image, you can by, as before, cropping to the image area and auto leveling. If it looks a bit too flat, you can adjust the curve, add a little bit more contrast back in. Not bad. And then let's do a 4x5 as a one-off. So, as before, let me just straighten this out. we will go back here, take our white balance on the film base, or a very dark part of your image. I could, of course, use this area here. I can go in, crop to just the image area, set our black on the RGB level to 255 and the whites to 0. Gives us our base. And then we need to auto level each color channel. This gives us our base inversion, and then you can edit the color from here. So I would say that there is too much green in this, so I'll go to my green channel and just drag that down. Or if there's too much, if you want to add a little contrast, we can go to our RGB channel, drag shadows down, highlights up a little, just ever so slightly, and we have a decent film inversion. So to recap, Capture One can be used quite effectively to get good film inversions with good color and range and flexibility. From here you can export them as TIFFs, edit them in Photoshop, or just export it as a TIFF so you can edit it using the tools in a way you normally would. Yeah, so to recap, definitely do set your preference so the auto level adjusts each color channel individually. Set your base characteristic curve to linear response if you are doing camera scanning. Use a flat field correction or an LCC profile if you're camera scanning. And then when it comes to the workflow, set the white balance on the film base, crop to only the image area, invert using levels, 255 for black, 0 for white, then auto level the color channels, and then you can make individual adjustments from there. Hope that helps.